Well, hello, and welcome back to the Builder Dad Shop. I am Builder Dad Dan, and these are my printers. Now, if you can tell, I'm really excited. I have got these things running now. I'm pumped. I'm so happy. And for you, just to have a backstory on this, I purchased these printers during the Black Friday sale, where I got the printer, I got the enclosure, I got free shipping, I got a spool of orange PETG with it as well, including the standard Galaxy PLA, and I also got a textured sheet for using for PETG. And so I was really pumped because it was a great price, great value, and I really love Prusa. And so if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've got two MK3S Pluses. I also have a Bamboo Labs X1C, and I like all my printers for different reasons, but the Prusas stand out because they've been so reliable for me with printing PETG. Well, I finally had time to assemble these enclosures because I got them not too long after I purchased them. It was pretty amazing that I purchased them almost immediately after the Black Friday sale went up. I left Thanksgiving celebration and said, I gotta go. And I sat in front of my computer and patiently waited for the website to refresh. And as soon as it refreshed and the sale went live, I hit bye-bye and bought two printers. And so they came roughly within, I think it was less than 4 weeks. And so they've been sitting in my shop and I've been kind of tripping over them and moving them. So it finally got to the point where I had to build them because I needed room in my shop to do other things. And so I've got them in the shop right now, but they're actually moving into the back into a new little home that I've got built for them. And I'm really excited about them because they're running great. Now, I will admit they were not running great day one. So these were factory assembled, and when I got them out of the box, got them in the cases, the first thing I did was I ran some test prints. And each one, I used the factory stock PEI sheet, and I printed with the PLA that came with it, these little scrapers, and they printed perfectly. I couldn't have asked for a better print out of these. And so the difference between the MK4 and my MK3s are that the MK3s was a live Z-adjust where you kind of eyeballed it and decided, okay, based on the amount of squish, this is what the distance between the nozzle and the sheet should be. And so I got really good at setting that on those, but now they've switched over to a load cell mechanism where it uses the pressure of actually the head, the nozzle touching the bed to figure out exactly where it's at so that it can auto adjust itself to get a perfect first layer every time. And so with the PEI sheet, with PLA, everything was perfect. So then I got ready to do PETG and I wanted to use the textured sheets. So I did the standard tricks. I took it to my sink, I used warm water and soap, and then the back side, the Brillo side of a sponge, and I went from a glossy finish on the sheet to more of a matte finish because you wanted to rough them up and get them cleaned up very well, and that gives it the best chance for the PETG to sit, to adhere to it. So I did that, I cleaned them with alcohol, put them on, and started printing. And the first thing I ran into was problems. The prints were not sticking. While the first layer looked great, it was roughly about 20 to 50% of the print on the heights, and these are, you know, relatively tall prints. Well, these aren't assembled, so they're just loosely up there right now. It would get up there and it would fail. It would either warp or something. And so I'll zoom in and show you what some of the warp failures look like because it was pretty bad. But the bed adhesion wasn't there. And I was frustrated because I'm like, oh, these are supposed to print perfectly. They're supposed to come out, you know, they're out of the box. They should be perfect. And I started talking to Prusa support. And this is why I love Prusa. Because as soon as I had a problem, within, I think the first one was 12 minutes, I was talking to somebody. I ended up talking to him for 3 days, not consecutively for 3 days, but you know, the few hours I have at night sometimes to work on stuff. And so I was talking to them, and the first person put me down a path of, you know, making sure I had everything cleaned, making sure that I had everything adjusted correctly. And so we went through that, and it started to look good. It looked better, but it didn't really solve my problem. And we kept going, and it was actually the third person. So each person, super nice, gave me tons of things to think about, things to try, things to work on. And we looked at the printer in so many different ways. I was taking pictures, sending them to them. It was a great experience. But it did take me 3 days to solve this. And what I figured out was something I'd never even thought about. There's a difference in temperature between where I'm at right now and my office. My office, which sits on the other side of the shop, is kind of small. I've got my desktop computer in there, I've got my work laptop in there, and so the room stays about 70 degrees because of that. And with 2 printers already in there, sometimes it gets up to 85 degrees. But the printer's area stays very stable. It's already starting at a nice ambient temperature around 70 degrees. And so what I found out was when I was printing in this part of the shop, because it's winter outside, it's a little colder and things like that. This section of the shop, because I've kind of closed up the vents a little bit so I'm getting less air from upstairs, because when the heat's on upstairs and the shop gets really hot, and I've had to open up the door to get fresh air in here. And so what I did is it's all closed up, but my vents are closed, so it's actually sitting a little colder than usual in here. It's actually about 65 degrees, and that slight difference in temperature between my office and this room was enough that it caused me adhesion problems. And so all I had to do to solve this was bump up the bed temperature. And so the standard settings for Prusa Mint on the Prusa slicer are 85 degrees on, it's 80 degrees on Celsius on the first layer and 85 degrees on all other layers. And so I bumped it up, and what I found is roughly somewhere between 60 and 65 degrees. I think right now I'm 66 degrees in the shop. I need to have a temperature of first layer 90 degrees and all of the layers 95 degrees Celsius, and that's giving me perfect bed adhesion. And it's kind of hilarious because it's always the last thing you think of, and it's the last thing you think of because then you're done and it's moved on. But that was my problem. And so unlike all of the magic I've had to do with the Bamboo of testing this, trying this, manipulating this setting, manipulating that setting, this is why I love Prusa. Because all I had to do, yes, I had to manipulate a setting, but it was a setting manipulation because of an ambient temperature difference. It wasn't because of all these other factors. And so it just speaks to the volume of how well these machines are built and run, because one little tweak like that and I'm off to the races. I've been printing now on these machines every day since I got this fixed, and the prints have keep coming out reliable and successful every time. And so I'm at that point now where I've got the Sunlu PLA the Sunlu dryers have got a roll of PETG in each of them cooking, and that way these machines are going to have PETG to feed to them and keep them running fast and strong for a while now. So they're going to be busy for the next few days printing multiple parts and moving on to the next thing. So I'm really excited about this. This is why there's a smile on my face and I'm just pumped. I think this is the one cool thing about 3D printing, is especially when you get a new printer, there's that moment of, oh, I wish this was going better. And you're upset and you're angry and it's like you're tired and you're stressed and you're like, oh, this should just work. And then you get over that hurdle and all of a sudden they start working, they start running smooth, and you get really excited about it. And now all of a sudden the possibilities start coming together. So now I've got 4 Prusas and they're all printing PETG great. That means that I can now keep going and start building things and moving on and diversifying a little bit. I've got the magnetic clamps that I'm working on. I've got them currently bundled with the DeWalt parts. Now I'm gonna start, I've got enough inventory of those where I can start selling those separate of that, because I've got them worked out to work with any one of my tools now. And so now I'm past that and I get to start thinking about the next thing. I get to start looking at what next problem do I want to solve and how are these printers going to solve it for me. So that's my update. These are my MK4s and I'm pumped. So if you've got any questions about them, I can tell you everything I know about them so far. They've only been running for a week. I did do a lot of troubleshooting to get them this way, and I can offer you what advice I have. It's not a lot, but they're awesome. So that's my plug for Prusa. I'm not sponsored by them, have no affiliation with them, other than I'm a big fan and I think they're great machines, especially for my scale of production. So until next time, have fun, stay safe, whether you're woodworking, or you're 3D printing, keep enjoying what you do, and I'll see you next time.